Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's podcast. We are delighted to have with us Mr. Sudhir Takker, Managing Director of System 5S, a leading name in industrial safety and fire protection solutions. With years of expertise in fire safety, arc flash protection, and industrial protective equipment, System 5S has been helping industries and individuals stay protected in high risk environments. Today, we'll talk about fire safety, protective equipment, industry standards, and why safety is more important now than ever. Welcome to the podcast, sir. It's a pleasure to having you with us.
Thank you, Nidhi, for having me on the podcast. A pleasure.
Great, sir. So I have a few questions for you, sir, starting with the first one. Sir, for those who are hearing about System 5S for the first time, could you please tell us about your company and the core mission behind it?
Thank you. That's a very interesting beginning question. And System 5S has been at the core of ensuring that anybody who wears a protective body protection ensemble stays protected for the life of the garment. That's the theme under which we started the firm. And we took up the first product was into firefighting suits, which continues to be our flagship product even today, with us having more than 70 to 75% market share of the Indian market. So basic theme was to come up with a good product in the field of fire safety, arc flash, heat and flame, and of also in areas where there is a real need for protection, and to ensure to give a solution to the end user by which he can stay protected for the life of the product.
Okay, that was really helpful, sir. Great to know about System 5S. Moving on to my next questions. What are the major fire safety and protective equipment solutions that System 5S provides for industries and consumers?
Now, in firefighting, there are the first product that we have been able to provide to the industry is a structural firefighting suit. Now, structural firefighting suits are typically the suits that you wear when you go into buildings and structures to protect A, people who are stuck inside the structures, and B, to retrieve any important items that need to be removed from there. That's the whole concept of having the structural firefighting suits. So we make the firefighting suits as per the IS standards and as per the EN standards, which is the jacket and trouser. We also make the gloves, which are also made as per the EN standards and as per the IS standards. And we make the hoods, which are as present, there is no IS standard, there's only an EN standard for the hoods. So this is one product for structural firefighting. The second product that we have introduced is a fire entry suit. Now, when we say a fire entry suit, it's a limited fire entry suit made from a reflective outer surface. Most of the times, it's an aluminized layer which is laminated onto a heat-proof barrier. And this is a multi-layer product which is worn by the fireman or by the individual to go into a fire and to stay in the fire for not more than a couple of minutes, and then to switch off the source of the fire. This is primarily to ensure that you can put out the fires by going into the fire and switching off the source of the fire, and if required, to retrieve some very, very important documents. Let me inform you, fire entry suit cannot be used to retrieve a human being from that. It's not meant for rescue. This is an important segregation which you must understand with a limited fire entry suit. Then we come to wildland firefighting. Now, wildland firefighting is for people who are doing the rescue and firefighting operation in open areas, whether it is fields, whether it is in forests, whether it is in farms. So basically here, a person is going to be fighting a fire for a very long period of time. I am sure most of us have seen those bushfires which happen in the US of A or Australia, which rage on for days on end. And you see the people wearing this equipment and fighting the fire for a long period of time. So this is a wildland firefighting suit wherein it is we manufacture and supply as per the EN standard, and there is an IS standard which has come up. So we make as per that. So this is for the firefighting. And in addition to that, we also make products for heat and flame protection, which is a single layer garment, which is mostly used by people who wear it as uniforms in oil and gas industries, and for people who want to wear it in any flammable areas just to protect them in case if there is a flame or a heat.
Right, sir. That was quite insightful and good to have knowledge. Thank you so much. Moving on, the third question for you, sir, is safety products need to meet strict quality standards. What certifications or international standards does System 5S follow while designing and manufacturing these products?
This is the basis of any product that you should be using. If a product is not tested and certified, what is the assurance that the end user has that this product will meet what it claims to meet? And this is where it is absolutely important and relevant to understand what are the test standards and requirements for each product, and to ensure that every time an end user or a procurer is buying, they follow these methodologies and ensure these necessary certifications are followed. Now, what we did way back, 25 years back, we went ahead and got the first one of our flagship products tested and certified as per the EN 469, which is the standard for firefighting jackets and trousers. It continues to be EN 469 even today, but it has changed in its amendments through the years by several additions on the kind of improvements in performance requirements year on year. So the current standard is the EN 469 2020, the year 2020, and we have the certification for the EN 469 standard. Now, what happens is for companies which are based in Europe, and this standard is basically offered from only notified bodies in Europe, which give the certification to anybody. You could be in India, you could be in China, you could be anywhere in the world, but you can get this certification. However, it is issued only by a notified lab in Europe. That's the first thing, because it's a European norm. The second thing which is important is, first is that you test the prototype, then you go ahead to certify it with the garment design, which means that you're testing the raw materials, but after the raw material, you're making a finished product. When you make a finished product, it is important also for you to understand the design, the fit to the body, and several other parameters which make it so relevant when you are in that process of firefighting. So it's got an ergonomic assessment which is done at the time of certification. So it's called a module B certificate if you have a and you have a CE mark for that. After this, what the European notified body does is they have a quality assessment system, which means once you have got your prototype product tested and certified, what is the assurance that every batch that you make will follow the same product quality each time, every time? Because the customer is actually having faith in the certificate that you've given, which means he's saying, hey, you've given me a certificate. So I am sure that the product you give me will follow all the requirements as per that test report and certificate. However, we are in India. हम जुगाड़ करते हैं. What we do, and I'm not saying just India, I'm saying in several parts of the world, we take a certificate giving genuine raw materials, then we go back to the shop floor and say, where can I get something cheaper? Where can I save some money? We try to make a better profit, source materials at a lower cost, compromising the quality. And for this, the European notified body understood there is a need to close this gap. So they created a system called a system of quality assessment certification. So once you have the module B certificate, it is absolutely important to have a quality assessment system certificate like a module C2 or D. Now in C2, what they do, they pick up your products from the market and they test it. In module D, it's more comprehensive. Not only do they pick up the product from the market, but they come to your factory every few months and randomly check that each and every batch that you have manufactured is as per the prototype requirements of the test report and certificate. They check where have you bought, whether it was the same when you did the prototype, how many meat, how many quantity of raw material you've used, whether you are following that process of procurement and notifying. And this way, we close the gap of you having an option of changing the raw materials and doing any hanky-panky. However, we have gone one step ahead. We have created an in-house testing lab. I mean, it's a state of an art that we have done here. And this testing lab is at par with international testing labs, accredited bodies all over the world. And here, for each and every parameter which is part of the EN 469 standard, we test them, and raw materials are tested before production. And just before it is sent for final stage, the final product is tested. And only after a QC passed is the product ready for sending out to the customer. This is a comprehensive system that we follow because for us, if you ever get to see our mission statement, we speak of 100% quality because even 99.99% is failure. We have one life. It takes only one incident. We cannot take that chance. So that's the process that we follow. That's for the EN 469. Incidentally, the India has also created a standard. It's a standard by the name of IS 16890. And it has been latest amended to 2024. So IS also is a standard which is more or less derived from the EN standards. It's a work in progress. It's a good standard, but however, there are some gray areas, which I'm sure the BIS is aware and trying to close those gaps. I mean, just because it's already out there is the IS standard does not call for the requirement of eliciting on your test report and certificate the raw materials that you're using and the composition that you're using. It does not call for you to mention your model number. So basically what happens is you are given the freedom to change your raw material. You are given the freedom to change your suppliers. And this is a gap which I'm sure over a period of time, it will be closed. In addition to making stronger post-license issuing quality assessments. So we are very hopeful that we will have a robust IS standard along with an EN standard. So this is for the jacket and trouser. For the gloves, there is another standard called EN 659 and an IS standard called IS 16874. This is what we follow for the gloves and for the gloves. And for the hoods, there's an EN standard called EN 13911. Now, just to complete the entire kit, because the kit consists of jacket, pant, hood, gloves, and you need something for the head, which is the helmet, and you need something for the foot, which is the footwear. So we do not manufacture the helmets. So we have collaborated with a company called PAB in Croatia, which manufactures a fully certified EN 443 helmet. And our association goes back as long as more than 20 years. So we work with PAB for the helmets and with Harvik from Malaysia for the firefighting boots. And same with this company, we have an association for over 20 years and we have an exclusive arrangement for India and several countries in Asia. And we supply as a kit to the customers. This is what we do for the firefighting suits. And for the firefighting aluminized fire entry suits, there is a standard called EN 1486. This is a very stringent standard, and we have got the standard from a notified body. Along with this, we were lucky that the Ministry of Textiles under National Technical Textile Mission, which is NTTM, which was headed by NITRA, which is the nodal body for textile excellence in India, we collaborated with them and have developed a aluminized fire entry suit for which they have been kind enough to give us a license, which is based on the EN 1486 standard. So this product is out and available to the Indian defense and Indian governmental and non-governmental customers for their use. So these two are the prevalent items that are available. And the third item, which is on the go, is the wildland fire suits, which has an EN standard EN ISO 15384, and there is an IS standard, equivalent IS standard, which has come up and published, which we hope to achieve in a very short period of time.
All right, that was a very good knowledge transfer. I think quality is something that really makes the product top notch and stand out from the saturated market, which is already there. So, System 5S has been maintaining that, and it was really great to know all about it, sir. Thank you so much. Moving on to our next question. For businesses and industries, what are the most common fire safety mistakes you notice? And what should organizations do to improve workspace safety?
It's a very tough question to answer because, see, this is an area where every company and industry has a safety head, and these safety heads get a lot of data, knowledge, and information from several fire advisors, several governmental compliance bodies, and the regulations all over, in addition to knowledge transfer from the industries which are right top notch up there. However, what I can share is what the top industries are doing to avoid common mistakes so that they do not recur for some industries who don't have the bandwidth to hire such experienced personnel. Now, if we were to go into, let's say, in a fire brigade, like I would say that, a top-notch fire brigade would be a fire brigade like Mumbai Fire Brigade or even a Tamil Nadu Fire Brigade. I mean, Tamil Nadu because simply I'm from Chennai, so I can speak of Tamil Nadu. And Mumbai because I think it's the commercial hub of India. And the maximum high-rise buildings in India would be in Bombay. I mean, the other cities were coming up close, but I think Bombay. So in these cities, for the firefighting suits, they have a very, very, very stringent policy of how they ensure that, such incidents of fire can be avoided. They have advisories of what to follow, what not to follow, and if there is a fire, what kind of policies to follow so that, an individual is not engulfed by a flame or gets into a fire situation, and what to be done immediately, the numbers to call and the people to get in touch with so that immediately they can come on ground and help them. And most important is how to avoid. So these are mostly fires happen for electrical short circuits. They can happen because of something that happens in a place where you're cooking because there's a fire there or a heat there or a gas there, and electrical installations which are all over the building. These are two common areas that can happen in houses. And in commercial buildings, it's always electrical or places where you are doing anything which involves probably an electrical current, or where you're involving some kind of a gas or some kind of inflammable material. And areas to cordon off and what to do and what not to do are normally now placed is there. But this is a very deep subject, which I think the professionals and the personnel who head or are involved in knowledge sharing should be giving a dissemination of information rather than a person like me who comes from the product side.
Right, sir. Right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. One final questions from our side today. For the general public, many people underestimate fire risks at home and workplaces. What simple fire safety measures would you recommend everyone should follow?
First thing is see that you don't ever have a fire. That's a simple thing to say, but it's not always in your control because things happen because it's simply that it's not in your control, or there is things which have been there because of oversight. But the first thing to do, I mean, this is something I would like to share as a concept and for people to keep in mind, which can be used for them to use as a concept in case there is a fire. How does a fire happen? There are three components required for fire: a flame, heat, and oxygen. It's called FOH. So, flame is something where you see it visible. You have a flame which comes out. For a flame to be there, you need heat. How does the heat come? Heat comes from a combustible material, which means could be gas, could be electrical power, could be even fabrics like cotton or polyester, or anything which can catch flame immediately, could be liquids. So any combustible material, there's a requirement, A, to have a combustible material, there's a requirement to have heat, and there's a requirement to have oxygen. If you cut off any of this, the fire will go off. As a concept, I'm sharing. If you cut off oxygen supply, the flame will cut off. If you cut off the supply of the combustible material, the flame will cut off. So these are some concepts for you to remember. And this is what most firefighters do. They try to cut off the combustible materials supply to it. So if there is no material that you can keep consuming, how will the flame go on? It won't. It will die by itself. So that's one area to understand as a concept. Now, the other way is the moment you have a flame or a heat or a flame somewhere around you, the best way and a very, very naive way is to have a blanket to cover that area. And most probably a blanket which is not made of combustible material. If you have a woolen blanket, nothing like it. Because wool by itself is to a large extent not flammable. It takes a long time. I'm not saying it's not capable of burning, but it takes a longer time than your cotton and polyester. So anything which is, let's say, woolen blanket or something, I think most of us would have because we now sleep on ACs. So we'll have a woolen blanket. Best thing is to take a blanket over a flame. It'll kind of cut off the limited oxygen supply. That's one way of looking at it. And today there are a lot of places where, in commercial establishments, they have these fire curtains. They have these, they've created those structures where you create a fire curtain where you block that place. You're basically blocking off the inflammable material supply. So that's one place commercial establishments do. But in a house, the best thing is to move away from there. And the best way to put a fire is always water. You can put water on that area. But if you put water on your hand or your skin, you might end up having a little bit of burn. And then you'll have to address it from getting some medication. But the best, I've probably given you a rough idea of the concept, and I think that's a good enough place to start.
Absolutely, sir. Totally agreed. And it was quite insightful. Thank you so much, Mr. Sudhir Thakkar, for sharing your valuable insights with us today. Your thoughts on safety, preparedness, and prevention were truly insightful. Safety is not just about equipment, it's about awareness, responsibility, and being prepared before an emergency happens. And to our audience, thank you for tuning in. Stay safe, stay aware, and we'll see you in the next episode. Thank you
It's
so
built
much,
to
sir.
raise
Thank you
them.
so much.